Yeah. Okay.
Whack my knee on that thing. Oh, man.
All right, Hutch?
No.
Okay, take your time.
Downtown. Hey. That'd be John.
Any help you think you can give?
I don't know. I need to be able to hit the share and limit the sharing to only the host, which is me. And there's usually a little button in the
Oh, like a
corner
drop down. Yeah.
of this that allows me to pull that up and do that. But for some reason, that's not showing up. So Kurt's looking at it remotely right now.
Is that a setting, like just keeping it to the host?
It's those settings if you go into Zoom, like the Zoom, there's Zoom settings somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
able to do it with the last meeting,
Yeah.
you know, for the authority. So I I don't know if it was the sequence that I did things or what happened.
Yeah, it has like a drop down, then you can select.
Right, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
there's
yeah, I
a
know
little
you're
window
talking
that pops up and says,
Yeah.
you know, only the host can share.
Right. Yeah, start over.
And when all else fails, reboot, right?
It's all right. We'll get started in a few. Can they hear me at least?
I don't know
Okay.
if any of the people who have joined, if they would indicate if we can be
Yeah, if
heard.
you could raise your hand if you can hear me. Oh, there you go. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. We're going to get started in a few minutes, just working through a few technical difficulties.
Okay, he says
Okay.
we're good. So-
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Welcome to the Monday, January 4th, 2021 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. My name is Corey Meyer, and I will call the meeting to order. Okay, I will have Ralph Hutchison play a quick announcement.
Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township public meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. Due to the COVID-19 virus and Governor Wolf's orders limiting indoor gatherings, in-person attendance for this meeting is being limited to a maximum of 25 people who will be observing social distancing. Additionally, based upon the order of the Secretary of Health regarding face coverings, all participants in the public meeting room are required to wear a face covering unless they fit into one of the order's exceptions. When speaking, while maintaining social distance, participants may remove their face covering. Therefore, this meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. The Township is expecting to utilize this vehicle for all future public meetings during and after the COVID-19 crisis. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website and will be posted on the front of the Township building. The Township will also be recording the meeting and making it available for viewing via the Township website and YouTube channel. While every effort will be made to ensure the live streaming and website are working, East Lampeter Township takes no responsibility for and cannot be held liable for the unavailability of live streaming in part or in full due to technical issues beyond its control. Live streams and recordings of all meetings remain the property of East Lampeter Township and are protected by copyright. Access to live streams and recordings of meetings is provided for personal and non-commercial use. Video, images, and audio must not be altered, reproduced, or republished without permission of East Lampeter Township. It is suggested that all participants on Zoom mute their microphone during the meeting until they wish to speak, make a motion, or vote. All votes will be taken by roll call so that they can be properly recorded. In order to accommodate public comments at this meeting, the Township will be accepting public comments in writing or via email. Instructions for the submission of public comments are available on the Township website. All those providing public comments will be required to provide their name and address in order for their comments to be read into the record. Inappropriate comments will not be read into the record. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay, the meeting is called to order. I have Supervisor Dave Buckwater, Vice Chair John Blowers, Supervisor Ethan Demme, and myself, Corey Meyer, Chair. Please join me in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Board of Supervisors reorganization. I'm going to ask Supervisor Dave Buckwater to be the temporary chairman.
Thank you, Corey. Okay, I'll be accepting nominations for the position of chairman.
I'll nominate Corey Meyer for the position of chairman for
Okay.
2020.
Were there any other nominations?
2021.
Oh, 2021. Sorry about that, Corey.
That's okay.
Good call.
Hearing none, close the nominations. Call vote on Corey as chairman. Ethan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'll turn it over to you, Corey, to take it
Thank
from
you.
here.
Look forward to serving another year.
Thank
Looking
you,
forward to
Corey.
serving with you.
Appreciate that, Corey.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I will accept nominations for election of the vice chairman.
I would nominate John as vice chairman.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, accept a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Second?
Ethan, second by Dave. Okay. All those in favor of John Blowers as vice chair?
Aye.
Actually, let me do voice, sorry. Do we have to do roll call vote?
Not tonight, I mean. you don't
Okay,
have much
yeah,
to
since
do.
we're all here, that's right, Glenn's not here. Okay, we'll do all those in favor for vice chair for John Blowers.
Aye.
Aye. Great, motion passes, thank you. There were no opposed, all four in favor. Okay, next on the agenda, we have public comment. Al or John? Okay,
Yeah, I was here last month, and we were looking for relief on sewer charges. I haven't heard anything. I do know that in speaking last month, that the sewer bill is tied to the number of seats. I'm primarily a restaurant, Miller's Smorgasbord. And I brought in information showing how many customers we served and whatnot. So I went back and I did some homework, and I thought, well, if we're based on seats, so for ever how many seats the EDUs is how we're charged. Now, it's interesting, when this meeting started, that we were told about, due to the state mandates, how you conduct this meeting, how we're supposed to behave here, which is dictated by the state. The state dictated how many seats we can have open or not have any open at all. And I'm asking this authority, follow that same formula in billing us for our sewer. It seems quite simple to me that there's something we're required to do, and then other things we're not. And it would seem only fair if we'd follow a state mandate as it impacts our charges.
for those in the Zoom, can you just introduce we know who you are, Al, but can you just introduce?
Al Duncan, I represent Thomas E. Strauss Inc., Miller's Smorgasbord, 2811 Lincoln Highway
Thank you.
East.
I appreciate that. Any comments to Mr. Duncan? I do want to ask Hutch just to recap what we discussed at the last meeting.
Sure.
From
At the board's last meeting, you reviewed the request, talked about the situation with the sewer fund and the charges that are included there, and ultimately adopted a resolution waiving penalties and interest on payments through the end of March on both the second quarter and the third quarter billing.
And I recall during that discussion, we also talked about, we're going to take things one step at a time. We're definitely, we have the authority to relook at, either future bills or those same bills and make future decisions at really any time.
Absolutely, the board has that authority.
So the case is not closed. I'm merely asking, look at the mandates from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, follow those same guidelines and bill us accordingly. That would seem to me to be fair, even though with those restrictions, we still didn't do anywhere near the business we normally would. So we're still paying more than what we normally would use, but it would seem to me that it would make some logical sense and have some sense of fairness to it.
I was not here at that board meeting. I guess this is when you
Yes.
had it, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman. Yes, so
Yep.
I was unfortunately absent. So I think there was a conversation 2 meetings ago about possibility of us looking at the stormwater fee and what that
Right.
may or may not, be feasible to do. And then the sewer flow charges as well. So it sounds like the conversation there on the sewer flow charges was that let's go quarter by quarter or something.
Correct.
And for the time being,
Right.
let's push off any potential
Interest
late fees,
penalties,
or
correct.
penalties or something like that. And
Yep.
we're going to go quarter by
Yep.
quarter. Was there a discussion on the stormwater fee?
I don't recall any discussion on the stormwater fee. I know that's not under our jurisdiction to actually change that, but frankly, the discussion was, even if it did come, we probably would have discussed it if it came up, but we didn't. It was purely about the sewer fund. I'm sorry, the
Sewer
interest,
charges.
the charges, yes, the
and
interest
sewer
and
flow
fees and penalties, correct.
Thoughts, we had, briefly talked 2 meetings ago about the possibility of looking at the stormwater fee and, what are the implications of delaying the collection of it, changing the amount of it. I mean, there was just different conversations at that meeting 2 times ago. Any further conversation about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give some initial thought and looking forward to others. Again, this is not under our jurisdiction to actually change that, but I'm sure the sewer authority would love to hear our thoughts. I'm not going to downplay that. I think to use Mr. Duncan's points about mandates, we have mandates that have come down from the federal government, down to the state government, and now down to us to pay, expenses and to improve water quality, essentially, right? And, those, according to our experts, if we don't pay those, then we will have larger penalties and fees down the road. So, unless the federal government or the state government says, you know what, hands off, we're gonna push those, MS4 permits off, we're gonna push those potential penalties off, I'm not sure there's a better solution. I don't want to pay the fee. I mean, I don't think any of us want to pay the fee. It's not like we get discounts by sitting as a board of supervisors of the sewer authority for paying these, not having to pay these fees. I don't want to pay them either, but I also don't want to pay double or triple 3 years down the road because we're now getting fined by, the feds or the state or some other agency. So again, to use Mr. Duncan's words, it's a mandate that we have to spend money to improve water quality. If we don't, our experts are telling us we're going to have to pay a lot more. So, I mean, if we can push it off a little bit, I'd be okay with that. But I would love to hear other alternatives to what, to what we put in place. Dave.
Well, it was, you were addressing the sewer charges. And I found your argument interesting, one I hadn't considered, the mandate. Now, our budget was calculated based on, full utilization. And if I don't know how it would impact us if we made the modifications based on a percentage of occupancy of seats available, that type of thing. That was an interesting argument.
So that was what I brought up at the last meeting,
Yeah.
and we were going to review that with the solicitor, whether we could do a credit carved out based off of a self-attestation of a business owner that they were shut down and unable to operate, which we haven't heard back as of this time.
So just for my clarity, so basically, in essence, Ethan, what you're saying is just if that entity closed,
Because
the EDUs wouldn't be accessed and used.
And we could give a credit to their bill up to what we looked in the budget and the memo that was prepared was we could do up to like a 10% credit. Because that's approximately what is the cost, the variable cost of the flow, as opposed to there's the overhead cost, which we pay no matter what. Then there's the flow cost, which does vary. And so if things are shut down, the flow goes down and can we give those savings back to the folks that were shut down? But it would require setting because you also just can't give credits to somebody just because you like them. You have to have some uniformity and fairness to it. So my suggestion was, if a business owner can apply for a credit, and in the credit they say I was shut down due to state mandates for X amount of months, then they're eligible for the credit. And we just take their word for it.
Is that something the solicitor is,
Yes, I've asked that question of the solicitor. We're waiting for a response.
okay, okay. Now, the second item then, Dave, was the stormwater fee then,
Yep.
and you guys said there wasn't.
Right.
We didn't
Yeah,
discuss that.
we did
Talk
not.
about that.
Didn't talk about that. The stormwater fee, my understanding is that we needed to implement, and we needed to begin to enforce or show that we were, moving towards a full implementation. And that is supportive of our MS4 permit.
Right, as part of the permit, which we got in 2018, we had to create a pollution reduction plan. And as a part of that plan, there are projects that we have to accomplish to reduce pollution in our local waterways.
Thank you, Ralph. Are those projects, is there a deadline on those projects for which we must get them done?
2023.
2023. And my understanding is the way that we implemented the fee, the size of the fee, and then the budget we put in place was designed to help us to be able to have the resources to get those done
Correct,
by 2023.
correct.
Is that when our next MS4 permit comes up?
Exactly, yes.
So would it be feasible that we as a local government could go to DEP and say, look, we're going to need another year on this thing because of COVID. We can't raise the funds. Our business community or our whole community is being impacted. We'd like to suggest that, we delay our MS4 permit or, our renewal one more year so we could, change the structure that we have in place. The resources are not going to be there because of COVID. Is there anything like that we could make a case for, Ralph?
We could certainly make that kind of request. I know that those sorts of conversations have been happening, and if there is any response from DEP, it's no. But I can't say that I've seen anybody that's gotten a formal response back from DEP. But we could ask that question if that's something the board wants to do.
Totally respect what you're saying, Corey. Absolutely. And John, somebody said mandate, but at some point, local government can say to state government, hey, we need to talk.
Right.
We've got
Sure.
to have a conversation.
Sure.
We've got to look at this thing.
Right.
The citizens, the taxpayers of the community are speaking to us, and we've got to have a conversation, which, by the way, your letter was great that you sent on behalf of of all the property owners, the hotel owners in the community. So I think we're doing that. We're sending a message, but maybe stronger that says we need to delay these projects for 1 year so that we can lessen the impact upon our taxpayers. You guys represent the business community. We have had a resident here, I forget the woman's name, but she was asking us, hey, this is pretty significant chunk of change for me, So, Corey.
Okay. John, why don't you go next and then I'll comment. Thank you.
I just wanted to make my name for the
Yes,
video.
thank you, John.
Thank you. My name is John
Appreciate it.
Smucker, representing Birmingham Corporation, a couple of businesses in the township. I want to follow up, Mr. Deming, your comment about applying for a credit, which I wholeheartedly agree with, but I would like to expand that beyond just the closure, the 100% closure period, to the ongoing mandate by the state of the restaurant industry that you can't operate more than 50%. So, all year long, initially April through June, we were closed, and then we were opened at 50%.
Right.
And then recently he went back to 25%. And now as of today, we're up to 50% again. So it's not just the period of time that we're closed.
Right.
It's much beyond that. So the capacity that we operate at means that we will not be putting flows into the township based upon our EDU calculations. It'll be at half of that.
Right.
It's interesting that in my business, Bird in Hand Restaurant, we are just about exactly at 50% revenue from the prior year. Some months less than 50%, some months a little bit more. August, September, we were like at 60% of revenue from prior year. Other months we were less than that. Now my restaurant is not in the township, but Al Duncan's is, and he can tell you that his percent of decline in revenue is significant because we can only go halfway. So I want to talk to the storm sewer assessment. That's what I'm here to talk about, and I called Ralph a few days ago and let him know that I wanted to come up and talk to it. So I represent my business, and I'm also representing a business group of hoteliers in the township. I put together information from a group of 26 hotels, hotel properties that represent about 2,000 rooms in the township. And we just did a little bit of a quick survey between our last discussion, which was early December here at the Supervisors meeting, and today. So my comments are really a follow-up to that discussion back in December regarding sewer fees and the closure status, but I want to speak specifically to the storm water assessment fee, which I mentioned at the very end of my comments. So, and Al Duncan and I presented an overview of the financial impacts of COVID-19 on the hospitality industry, and it's been really severe. And we also noted that, we're searching for dollars in all the corners to try to get through and try to survive this period of time. And my sense from that discussion was that the township, you fellows were kind of groping at around an attitude of, well, how can we help? How can we help? So I think Mr. Duncan is presenting one way in which you can help, based legitimately on government closures and mandates that we have to follow. But I'd like to talk a little bit about another item that's within your control, right? When I talk about your control, I'm talking about the township. Now, I understand relative to the storm sewer assessment that this board technically doesn't make the decisions that you've created. The sewer, you created operating authority status with the sewer authority to take care of this issue. But I'm going to talk about the township as a team, you fellows and the sewer authority. Between your two groups, you have complete authority to do what you think would be best for the township and the business community within it. So while we're experiencing the economic devastation that we are, it's not necessarily government's role to always step in and to help the business community or whatever community get through. But it's become very clear, I think, at the federal, state, and I'm going to apply to the local level, that there's a lot of people, individuals, businesses that are going to be needing and that will need government assistance to survive. So I'm going to lay that out here. So in a way, we, our group, the hotel group specifically, and beyond that, hospitality, and then maybe beyond that, to the residents of the community, there's more unemployment. I mean, the rates are higher. There's a lot of people struggling. So I'm just going to apply your body as a local government group that can assist the residents during this critical time. And speaking of budgets, you're going to examine how your budget might be affected by the decisions that you make to not collect a fee and so forth. Just understand that when you go into a year where you expect that you will have one of the best years in your history, which is both what Al and I were expecting. As of March 18th, we were trying to figure out how we're going to have enough people to take care of the business. Yeah. I have a group, I have a report that's about 25 pages long, double-sided, of all the groups that were booked for my business, stage, restaurant, hotels. In 4 weeks, it all went away. So our budget has been impacted severely. And so as you think about budget impacts to the township, just understand that what we're facing, both individuals and business-wise, the impact to our budget has been very significant and devastating. So we're not quite sure, as we stand here today, when we're going to see the dim light at the end of this long tunnel. We don't quite see that light yet, and we're not quite sure when it's coming. So we're looking in a number of places. So in response to the question, and I think, Mr. Blowers, you were saying, how can we help? That's a comment that came from you a couple times. And so my suggestion to the group, this board and the sewer authority, is that you simply suspend the stormwater assessment fee for the year 2021. That's something that's completely within your authority to do as a township. You fellows and the sewer authority working together. I know that's a big ticket item. I was asking Ralph the other day, well, what is the projected collections from this fee per quarter? And he was saying, I think 350,000, which is about 1.4 million,
right,
which is what you're estimating you will need to get done the job that you need to get done relative to your MS4 credits and the things that have been mandated to you. So, and I was also part of the work study group that was putting all this together. Steve Sicken from Steamboat, he's here. I think, Steve, you're on the video tonight.
Yep.
Yes.
He was part of it too. And so I understand the reasons and the underlying rationale, and it's not that I don't support it. I did then. I was not opposed to having to pay the assessment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But gentlemen, what happened since then is something that none of us expected. It's
right,
a calamity that came across at no control of our own. And so we're just simply asking that you consider. So here we are as a business, as residents, as individuals of the township, and we could use some relief. I calculated from the hotel group that put together information for me for this meeting, we're going to be paying in excess of $50,000 as a group of 26 this year for the storm sewer fee. And so it just comes at exactly the wrong time. So if you suspend the fee for a year, that might put back your collections for the money that you may need to spend to collect the credits that you need before the next licensing time, 2023, comes around. However, you might be able to spend the money. If you spend a couple $1 million, you might be able to get sufficient credits. So that's something that I don't know, you don't know at this point in time how much money you're going to need to spend to get the credits that you actually need. So it's a target out there that is a little fuzzy. And so I'm saying to this board, what we need is we need relief today. And if you could have discussions with the state about putting off and extending a year, maybe if enough of townships get together. I know you have a state association of townships, I think. If you bring enough pressure to bear on the state government, maybe you can be successful in saying, hey, look, we just can't collect all the money that we thought we could to get the job done that we need to get done. And so give us another year. It would be a pretty hard-headed bureaucrat or politician that would say, nah, just take a walk. Because there's so much hurting and so much need for relief. So I think that's our appeal. It has really turned out not to be a good time to take $1.4 million from your township business community and residents. And so if you guys can get together with the sewer authority and give us a little bit of relief for 2021, it won't be a lot of what we need, but it'll be some of what we need. But more importantly, it'll give us confidence that we know that you guys are stepping with us and trying to help out in our mode of survival. the hospitality industry in this township has put out a couple $100 million worth of investment. And right now we're looking at, an occupancy in the hotel side of 30, maybe 40% in good months, which is just atrocious. It's just devastating. And in the restaurant industry, it's about the same. So I know the request has implications for the township, but we just ask that you take a good look at it. And so that's my plea. And our plea as a group, and I'm sure I'm speaking for other people, that we didn't get involved in the accumulation of our information. So,
Thank you, John. Just a quick question for Hutch.
questions?
Yeah, did a bill just go out?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't got my mail yet, but I was assuming.
But the bill that went out was for the fourth quarter of 2020.
Okay. And actually, that was going to be my question. When
Yeah.
you say 2021, you're talking about the bill that would come out 3 months from now?
I'm talking about the bill that will come out in April,
Right.
July, October, and the following January. When I say 2021, I'm talking about calendar year
Got it.
2021 and the billings related to it.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, the $50,000 was an annual fee for the 26 hotels that you
Correct.
canvassed.
Correct.
Yeah.
We didn't even have time to get to the restaurant industry. The restaurant industry typically has more impervious surface, more parking requirements than the hotel industry. So add the restaurant industry, and we're talking, I don't know, maybe hotels and restaurants, maybe 150,000. I don't know. And then theaters, I mean, like American Music Theater, they're closed.
Zero.
I mean, they have large parking lots.
Right.
So it just goes on and on.
Okay. Thank you.
So-
I wanted to understand the whole timing and the request.
So I know that we should really make this presentation to the sewer authority, and will. They're the decision makers. You guys can help influence that. But they just need to hear our plea. I'm not sure that, the political side of it really comes to bear on how they decide things. They usually decide things in a vacuum other than the political side of the community, but that's where you guys come into play and can have joint discussion with them to see where you can help. And I appreciated the information from Ralph and the discussion we had several days ago. And I just want to let him know that we're coming up today and want to make a comment during this period of time and ask specifically for this relief.
It's helpful. Thank
I
you,
don't know
John.
what the follow-up is from here. We'll go to the sewer authority and make our presentation there, and then it's up to you guys to deliberate it.
Yeah, I think that's, definitely perfectly fine to go to the sewer authority. I think you should have the conversation there. I mean, they will end up making the decision. I understand all of your points about our board and the township as being one entity. But of course, they would have to make an actual vote. My question to fellow board members are just other comments about that, because I think, again, any comments that we make in this session, or if we attended the sewer authority, I think would be helpful to the sewer board.
I mean, I completely, understand, very, supportive of the concern that, DEP, will say no. But, our state legislators and the governor are being inundated right now with all kinds of requests for direct dollar support for delaying of things or canceling of requirements, all kinds of activity associated with this crisis in the community. And while property taxes are things that we tie to direct requirements here in our community, services we have to provide, personnel we have to put in place to provide local government services. Can we not make the case to our state legislators and to DEP that pulling $1.4 million out of this community to address something that, let's all admit, it's been in place for decades. The state's been, feds in the state been trying to put their hands around this issue for decades as it is. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that I think the Chesapeake Bay Commission goal has been pushed back at least 3 or 4 times. and that's like 20-year time horizons, I mean, to say to the community that, hey, we have this mandate coming from the feds and from the state that by 2023 you have to do something, and it's going to require $1.4 million to pull out of the community, and we're not going to do anything. And I'm not saying we're not, but I think we do have to show the community we are doing all that we can to try to move that goalpost a bit, to push it out for a year so that we can not pull $1.4 million from the community, but we're going to be able to, keep that in the community and then return to that requirement. But we're going to go to the feds and the state and say, we need to push this from 2023 to 2024. You're going to get it done, and we're going to work on this thing. But $1.4 million is a lot of money to pull out of a community where a good many people are. They're not hurting. They're in economic distress. I mean, just talk about the people that live in our community that work in the restaurants, that work in the hotels. 40%. I bet you're stretching. I bet it's 30%. I just can't imagine that you're hitting numbers that are, employing, more than 3 of every 10 people that you normally employ. I would like to see us reach to the state that says we have to push this off.
Let me make a point, and I appreciate your comments, John. Suspending the assessment of the fee for 2021 does not necessarily mean that you will not be able to achieve your MS4 credits by 2023. It's not, if you don't collect it, you won't meet your goals. You might have to try to accelerate some activity during the last couple of years, but to me, I don't think anybody can say that, I'm not sure, but that if you don't collect it this year, you can't make your goal. I haven't heard anybody say that with some significant authority and information behind that. So maybe that is the case. I don't know, but even if that is the case, I think there could be a pretty strong appeal made for whatever year you need to be meeting your goals, 2023, let's say, by saying, look, we need another half year or 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And who's going to levy significant fines then because of what you felt you needed to do as a community authority?
It's tough for me to take the sewer issue and put it in the same context. I think Ethan has said it, correctly many times. That is, there are a set of fixed costs to keep that entity going,
right? And
we have got to keep that going. The flows are up for question. I certainly can't say to the police department, I tell you what, stop doing what you do for a year, and we'll catch up to the police department goals, in a year. We can't say that, so we've got to collect that. But to say to the taxpayer, and I'm even looking at the 1.4 million. I'm saying, if I'm going to provide relief to somebody, why not Mrs. Jones over here, who's got a shed out back and an impervious driveway and a roof, and I'm saying to her, now you're going to pay an extra X this year. Well, I can push off some projects. I can delay, reaching a goal that it's been there. We've had this issue for decades, and we're going to have it for many decades to come. I can push off that. I can fight to push it off with the state and the feds to say, it can't happen, folks. This has got to be adjusted. I do think we need to make every effort to address the stormwater fee and the goals under our 2023 deadline.
I think the key is, if you look at our budget that we prepared for the stormwater fee, that laid out specifically which projects we need to complete, the time it's going to take complete those projects each year, and the cost for each one of those projects. That's what's in our plan. So it is one of, these aren't pushable projects without incurring fines from the state. We do have pushable projects, and we updated our budget middle of last year, once COVID hit, and we pulled almost 800,000 out of our budget, and we're doing it again for this year's budget. We're pushing a lot of millions of dollars of projects already in the township we're pushing off. So if we pushed off the stormwater fee, those projects still have to get done. We still have to do them. We still have to pay for them, which means
General fund.
which
Right.
the money's
Raise
not there for
taxes.
that, which means we're raising property taxes by over 30% to make up that difference. And it's the state is the only one that can delay that permit. So, I mean, I've talked to Senator Smucker, and that would be not Senator Smucker, Senator Martin on this issue, but that's the way to do it. So I've been repeatedly talking to our elected officials to say, delay the MS4 permit, give us, I'd say 5 years, push that out to really make any reasonable headway in pushing these projects, because once you start down these projects, they're not quick restart once you start the planning on them.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
we've already pushed off a bunch of money from our general fund budget to keep a no tax increase year. So it's one where we're in the same boat, and it's one of the state's not giving us any relief right now. Wish they could.
Is PSAT's lobbying on our behalf in this regard? Are we aware of anything that's happening?
I'd have to check. I suspect that I know that they lobby all the time
Yeah, I
for
know
a
they
variety of issues, and this is certainly one of the bigger issues that's out there. So I would not be surprised if there's specific lobbying efforts. And
I know our municipality is strong in the hospitality industry, and it's probably one of the industries that have been impacted the most. But it seems to me that the state would have a similar concern.
Well, the region that has the brunt of the MS4 right now is also just,
Yeah, that's true.
it's
Yeah.
not all of
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. It's
Lancaster
just
County.
the Lancaster County and
Mill
the
Creek is
municipalities.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chesapeake watershed.
Yeah.
And gentlemen,
Yeah.
I know.
And the ones that have metro areas within that.
Right.
Gentlemen know that I've been part of the Mill Creek Watershed Group
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
about a dozen years.
Yep.
And I know that it takes a couple of years to wind up some good projects, and we've done some really nice projects recently, and it takes a couple of years till you work through the design and get your permits from the state, and you get the actual construction done. And so I'm aware of that, and I'm also aware that significant progress has been made. I mean, our group has been up and down the Mill Creek watershed from its source up in the Welsh Mountains down to almost the Conestoga River. And well, recently, at your Gibbons Park. So that was a great project. And so projects like that contribute immensely to reducing settlement. And of course, we're beginning to work on the Nolt's Mill Dam. And I think that will yield large credits, I think. I'm not sure how many, but we hope fairly significant amount of credits for the township if we get that project up and going. And that's going to take a couple of years to do that. So all of a sudden, we're at 2023 before you know it.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I can place a couple of calls. Maybe I'll talk to Keith Greiner and to Scott and say, look, guys, what can we get going? And if you can talk to PSAT and see if they have anything in the works with respect to this issue. Maybe we can make enough of noise that it can make a difference. And in the meantime, get some current relief for our township.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you, Al. So,
John,
I'm hearing, yep. Sure. Yeah, please go back up. Yep.
What's being suggested, if it cannot be pushed back, if you look at what I think the second round of PPP by the federal government, you got to be impacted to a significant degree to even put an application in.
Right.
There's many businesses in this community that even with COVID have done incredibly well. So there may be mid-ground. You may not have to say no to 1.4 million. Maybe you say no to a few 100,000. And I would just say be open-minded.
Yep.
You know where the relief is needed.
Yep.
And have a default position. If it can't be everything, have a plan B. Never
Yeah.
go, never
Yeah.
go, never go to negotiations without a plan B.
Yeah, yeah, I'll think,
So I would encourage you to have a strong plan B.
yeah,
That probably, part of that answer will come from
the solicitor.
counsel.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. I mean, clearly, look, if we can legally, for those that are hurting, restaurant, tourism, and potentially other industries, we don't even know that have hurt a lot from this. But, I think of Walmart. I mean, I'm sure they have been extremely busy during this time and also have, a large amount of impervious space and land. But, I think it's a question to the solicitor to understand what our options are and absolutely advocacy, as much as we can. Senator Martin, Representative Griner, Representative Smucker, I think from all angles would be helpful.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
guys
Thanks
very
again.
much. Steve, thank you for
Yeah,
attending. Appreciate that.
Any other public comment from those on the Zoom? If you want to either raise your hand or turn your video on.
This is Steven. Hi, guys. I just
Hey.
want to thank Al and John for being there to represent our entire industry. And I second and third everything they've said. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Steve. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, I'm going to move on the agenda. We have 5 annual appointments. I have a few to read. So we have appointment of the solicitor, Blakinger Thomas Law Firm, Susan Pfeiffer Esquire. B, appointment of Township Engineer and Alternates, David Miller and Associates. Becker Engineering, HRG Incorporated, Grove Miller Engineering, and McMahon Associates. Appointment of the Vacancy Board Chairman, Mr. Michael Landis. Appointment of depositories, PLGIT, M&T Bank, C&B Bank, and Univest Bank. Appointment of PSAT's conference delegates and voting delegate. Conference delegates are all township supervisors, and voting delegate, Mr. Ralph Hutchison, township manager. F, appointments to Central Lancaster County Council of Governments. Board representative would be Ethan Demi, and alternate Corey Meyer. And appointment of county treasurer as the 2021 tax collector. Those are our annual appointments. I'll accept that in one motion.
Make a motion that we accept the annual appointments to the positions as just presented.
Second?
Made by John, seconded by Dave. Any public comment about the annual appointments? Okay, we'll do all those. We have a motion. All those in favor signify
Aye.
by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. It's with not having someone on Zoom, it's hard to get out of. I've been doing it for 9 months that way. Now I'm back the
Got
old
used to
way.
it, didn't you?
Exactly, couple years the old way. Okay, so we have 6 appointments to vacant positions and reappointments. We have first the Emergency Services Committee, 2-year term ending 12/31/2022. We have Hand in Hand Fire Company representative Paul Fisher, Lafayette Fire Company alternate representative Jason Byler, Lafayette Fire Company citizen representative Eric Bergstrom, Bronx Fire Company representative Steve Gribble, Whitmer Fire Company alternate representative Michael Creamer, Whitmer Fire Company citizen representative Nicole Castagna, Whitmer Fire Company representative to fill an unexpired term ending 12/31/2021, Greg Sherman. Township Supervisor alternate representative, the Supervisor Dave Buckwalter. And then Township Citizen Representative Claire Graham. I'll accept, we'll do 6A. Actually, let me just read the last one. 6B, Industrial and Commercial Development Authority, 5-year term ending 1/16/2026. Supervisor John Blowers. I'll accept the motion for those vacant positions and reappointments.
So moved.
Moved by Dave,
Second?
second by John. Any comments from the board? I do want to thank all that have, a lot of names that have been on there for some time. Steve, Paul Fisher, Jason. I mean, a lot of names. Thank you all for serving. Claire's been representative for some time now as well for the township. Any public comment? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Thanks again for all those individuals serving. Okay, next on the agenda, we have 7, establishment of the treasurer's bond amount, $740,000. Hutch, I know that's a calculated figure.
Yes.
Any-
And, the township manager is by ordinance the treasurer of the township, so it's bond on me essentially.
Okay, sounds good. Accept a motion to establish the treasurer's bond amount, $740,000.
So moved.
Second?
Ethan, second by John. Any board comment? Any public comment? Okay, all those in favor for that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. You caught up? Pause. Okay, 8, consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes of the Monday, December 21st, 2020 regular meeting, and we have approval to pay invoices from all funds for a total of $415,784.55. There are a few items of note. $6,750 to PA Chiefs of Police for annual live scan CPIN maintenance fees, $8,657 to SWIF for fire services workers' compensation coverage. And those are all the notable amounts in that grand total. Accept the motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dave, second by John. Any other board comment? Any public comment? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, we have no old business, no new business. Action items. We have a resolution for police officer contributions to the police pension plan at 5%. Remains unchanged. It's just pay Auditor General's office requires that the board annually adopt a resolution setting the police officer's pension contribution rate.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, moved by John, second by Dave. Any other board comment? Any public comment? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, we have 11B, resolution regarding non-uniform employees' contributions to the pension plan of 2.05%. Hutch, any commentary on this one?
This year, the amount of the non-uniform contribution is being calculated differently than it has been in the past. We did negotiate that through with the ASME folks and would apply it to all participants in the plan. It's now based upon the township's MMO and at least equally sharing in the amount that the township has to contribute. So for this year, it would be 2.05%.
Got it. Okay. Okay, accept a motion to accept the resolution for non-uniform employees' contribution to the pension plan set at 2.05%.
So moved.
Moved by Ethan,
Second? Go ahead, John.
second by John. Any other board comment? Okay, any public comment? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, and then lastly, we have the mileage rate approval. IRS lowered the rate to 56 cents a mile, down from 57.5 in 2020. We stay consistent with the IRS rate for reimbursement.
Move that we approve the rate.
Okay, motion made by Dave,
Second.
second by Ethan. Any other board comment? Any public comment? All those signify by saying aye for the motion.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, 12A 12A, acquisition of 2551 Old Philadelphia Pike, Nolt's Mill.
At your last board meeting, you authorized moving forward with settlement on the property. I just want to report back to the board that settlement did occur, handled successfully, and so the township now owns 2551 Old Philadelphia Pike, otherwise known as Nolt's Mill.
Good. Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate that. And 12B, Walnut Street Extension.
Yes, also at the last meeting, there was discussion about having the plan to have another presentation on the Walnut Street Extension and the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway at your next meeting, the January 18 meeting. And it was felt that because of the limited amount of time that there was to get notices out or to use the township newsletter to get that information out, that it ought to be considered to delay that presentation until the February 1 board meeting. So I went back, I talked to the folks from High. They were fine with moving it to February 1. So now that's when that presentation will happen. There is an article in the township newsletter indicating that to people that that's when the presentation will happen.
Good.
There is information on the website indicating what's happening with the project, an opportunity to look at the conceptual plan, an opportunity to look at the conceptual bridge design, and invitation to attend the meeting, hopefully mostly by Zoom, so that we can accommodate as many as possible at that time. So I just want to report back to the board that that'll happen on the 1st rather than January the 18th.
Great. Okay. Any other?
Where's that on the website? I took a look for it, but I couldn't see it.
The article may not be up on the website yet. I given it to them, and so it should be there soon if it's not there now.
Thank you, Ralph.
Any other board comments? Okay. Accept a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any other board comment or public comment? Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We are adjourned.